Good evening, everyone. Niskipisuwin. Welcome to the online version of Healing Turtle Island. We are very happy to be able to be back with you again and to bring these messages from across the world to you during this very challenging time so that we can uplift one another, we can continue this prayer, and we can continue to remember what it is that we started all those years ago when we first gathered under that eastern doorway. So for those of you who don't know, this gathering is part of a 21-year ceremony, a 21-year prayer for the healing of Mother Earth and for the healing of our hearts and our minds as human beings, and also healing our relationships with our relatives in the natural world. And so this year, the prayers are being directed to the southern doorway. And we have a relative who's going to be joining us from that southern doorway to open things up in just a moment. But they are having difficulty logging in at the moment. And so we're just waiting for that individual to start. Okay, so if you just give us a few minutes, I'm going to go to my brother from another mother and ask him to say a few words. John Bear, would you say a few words?
Yes, let me unplug a sound that's driving me nuts. So welcome, everybody. The host of tonight's program is coming out of Monroe, Maine, in traditional area near a place called Belfast, not far from there. And it's good to have you all here. Eventually we'll have a few songs, a few welcome songs. I don't know when you want to do that, Sherri, but we can do that at any time. I will sing a welcome song that was sung among the traditional chiefs as they approached each other. We don't do that song anymore in the way that it was traditionally done, but we do it as a honor for welcome these days. But again,
you can do that at any time, John Bear, whatever, just feel free to just be, we're as if we're sitting in ceremony together. We're creating this circle in this way. It's a little bit different than how we usually gather, but we're coming together to offer these prayers. And the fire here has been lit. The fire has been lit in the south, where the host of the gathering in the south is located. And there are other fires that have been lit around the world, joining with the fire that we have here. So we're just going to imagine that we're all together around those fires, and I'll turn it back to John now.
So our wampum belt teachings, our ancient teachings, our wampum laws carry many things in them. They're made from a traditional shell that grows on our coast. And some of the tribes below us also participate in that wampum law, as well as the west tribes to the west of us, the Haudenosaunee tribes as well. But in the Wabanaki wampum belt teachings, our ancient way of documenting our ceremonies, our law, our consequences, and our history, one of the things that we're constantly told is to sing our songs. It's repetitive because the songs lead us forward. There was a song that was sung between chiefs when one chief and his delegation of other chiefs and clan mothers would enter into another chief's territory among the Wabanaki, they would face to face, stand face to face, and tribal citizens would stand and fill in the blanks and make a circle. And the visiting chief would sing a song offering a gift, dancing towards the host chief. And once the host chief took the gift, the visiting chief would dance backwards to his spot. And once he got there, the host chief would dance towards the visiting chief, offer a gift as well, and dance back to his spot. So I'll sing a couple versions, a couple verses as if the chiefs are doing this twice. And it basically, it's referring to, please welcome me to your village. Please welcome my people. And let's have good talks. Let's have good energy. Let's have food. Let's have companionship. And we are brothers. Let's treat each other as brothers. And then it comes back and the host chief says, I accept your offer. I always look forward to this time. And I accept your gift, and let's start the ceremony. And it's implied in this song. It's not necessarily words, but it has a lot of action that we can't see. Like every traditional dance and song, the song is the base. It's the holding spot. And the dance is what is describing what's going on. And so what I did was I described the dance. I will sing this, a couple verses from the song. Aliyaha, Aliyakwanude, Aliyaha, Aliyakwanude, Aliyaha, Aliyakwanude, Aliyaha, Aliyakwanude, Egwanuda, Egwanudana, Egwanuda, Egwanudana, Egwanuda, Egwanudana, Egwanuda, Egwanudana, Aliyaha, Aliyagwanude, Aliyaha, Aliyagwanude, Aliyaha, Aliyagwanude, Aliyaha, Aliyagwanude, Egwanuda, Egwanudana, Egwanuda, Egwanudana, Egwanuda, Egwanudana, Egwanuda, Egwanudana. Oh, thank you.
Oliwan. We're now going to go to our relative in the South, Marcus Cloud Briggs, who is hosting the Southern Fire, for some opening words of welcome and prayer. Marcus?
Can you hear me okay? Oh, ambunakadakkin ubona iba system. Nan so hosifkat kanvaski holadoen amalegi do uza kodundoes hudalgalgi ippozidoes moen. Konibalgi en zowaki does je. Mati Muskogee gidoyat yama iganalega tat pumedeligi omaga takabugi badidation. State kagi yaman yetsit ajin hazagalatka fatsina bije zagari duis. Oesin utlulabi ustangimahin yaman tlisjetsid nakmujasin agwabiden kuiat nettasididayan uhadut kiitfulli duis. My name's Marcus. I'm a Muskogee person and a son of the Wind Clan and an in-law to the Skunk Clan. Just want to reiterate what Sherri said, that we're here in solidarity and support of Healing Turtle Island event and tending the Southern Fire here in our traditional Muskogee homelands, what's commonly colonially known as Alabama, Central Alabama. And just want to open here with words and kind of the way that our people we speak in moments, sacred moments, and kind of acknowledging, the elements of the natural world, all of our people, the teachings of our people, our Creator, the days that have been loaned to us in humility as Muskogee people here, as all peoples on the planet, that we humble ourselves in front of our Creator. So I just ask you to bear with me as I want to enter into these kinds of sacred words. I just want to close with these words here. All of our people, can you still hear me okay? Oh, okay. All of our people are struggling where we're at as Indigenous peoples, non-Indigenous peoples on the planet. And our people have been through a lot, as all Indigenous peoples have. Nearly 40% of our people were murdered in a genocide when we were displaced from our traditional homelands here. And they sang these songs along what is more colloquially known as, we call it Stimilkerenini, but in English they say Trail of Tears. And they sang these songs of encouragement to one another so that we would keep going, as they said that people, elders would die and they couldn't have a proper burial for them. And it would really bring the morale down as it was snowing, and they would reach through the snow and take the dirt and spread the dirt over these loved ones that had passed. And it was hard to keep going for many. They died just of the depression and the trauma of seeing so much death, and the soldiers taking the children from the womb as the child was born, and they would hit them up against the trees. And to have no crying babies around this time, it was through these songs that they told us that people were able to make it the 700-mile walk. And so we sing these songs today as encouragement for us to keep going in the situations that we find ourselves all in need of healing, and that's what we cling to today. And the vibrations of the songs themselves, we always feel better when we sing. it brings healing to us in that particular moment, and we keep singing so that we can find the strength to make collective transformation, a kind of holistic transformation, to bring about the real healing that we need in our communities. And so with that, I'm just gonna offer this song, and that's from Iganifulija, from our eco village. We're an off-grid income sharing eco village of Muskogee people. And we do language revitalization work and regenerative agriculture and natural building, and just live real simply here in our traditional homelands. So this song comes here from our people, from our village. Chihodu shakadish chinau shakadish mumesh kumet awachkin uwa biyakatlish Alwin mikusap aldirapiyana ayedan chiajigo mumes kumet awachkin Oa biyakatlish halwin umapaldagirapi yanam ayedan chiajigo mumes kumet awachkin uwa biyakatlish halwin shihodu shakadish chinau shakadish Mumes kumet awachkin uapiyakatlish halwin. Maringo rap kahaye ataristiyo magoset tinhilakasin. Ibo fangadad ingo rapka imbugit to gaiste madi gosen nakmagit sayajat madi gostoste madozi gezakais.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marcus. It's for us here, the direction of the south, that southern doorway is Jabalak, the great white eagle, and that spiritual and emotional healing coming from that direction. And we can really feel the need for that spiritual and emotional healing right now here in not only in Wabanaki, but all over Turtle Island. And the beauty of that song about those people who come from those who were forced on that longest walk. We carry so much of that sadness within us, but also that resilience. And you could really feel that in that song, Marcus. So thank you so much for that song. Next, I'm going to go to my other brother in the north, Ron Tremblay, the Grand Chief of the Wolastoq.
Kwe, Siriwen, Kolazi Kolpayod, Wabanaki, Gadwi the Gedja, Wolazabalt, Mohawk, Sida Genzosuk, Tinokmasag naga Chimusumsag Gachimando Chiniwesc naga Galwaskabachu Sidegeg Spasaqsit Passasum and Lewis Chizagam Nil Wolastoq Gawiak Gaka Goswagodum naga Malsa Mogodum. Greetings from the land of the people of the Don here in the Northeast. I want to welcome the ancestors of all our peoples that dwell in the East, the South, the North, the West. And I'm going to invite them to our midwinter ceremony here to ask them to guide us, to teach us, to direct us, and help us heal as we walk this good red road. And I had addressed myself as Spasaqsit Passasum, which translates to morning star burning. That's that first light that comes up in the east that reminds me of my responsibility of each morning when I step on the floor as I rise from my bed to always pay homage and gratitude to every living thing, from the center of our great mother to as high as we can see where our great father dwells above us. And I had dressed myself as the traditional grand chief of the people of the beautiful and bountiful river we call Wolastoq. We call ourselves the Wolastoq Gawiak, people of that beautiful and bountiful river. And I am, and I represent the Crow clan through my maternal side, and the Wolf clan through my paternal side, through my father's side. And I'm here representing them as when in every step that I take and every breath that I take and every word that I speak, that I want to be kind and respectful and as gentle as I can be. But I'm human and I do make mistakes. So I'm going to invite all creation here in my beautiful Wolastoq Waban in the language of that beautiful and bountiful river that she gifted us with. Chinokmasag, Chimusumsum, Gachimando, Chiniwesc, Galwaskab, Lewancho, Mouse Wagon, Lewancho now Stegeg, Gazitweg Yut, You'd skick the mig, the key de water the Hebasi lumpkik, nit the ahateg nid Zamagwan is good, naga go walk tipquan, naga Zamagwan, nid lumpkik, Yut the na skijo, Lewan chub sedem, Wajawal, Kjikol, so the Zamagwano, Zebel, Zebosizel, Quispam was a begil. Naga nito Mijawagano, Naga Pizono, Edligak, you'd skick the mig, Lewan chu nito. Kumajabalewan, not you up to the way seasick, Juju cheesick, Namaswig, Zip seasick, if you'll back it dunya, Nagamau, so they get you'd attic, you'd skick the mig, Nagazamawan cook, Nagawat, Muskwanak. Lewan by mouse wagon, would say attic, you'd skick the mig. Genzoswig wat at the Bigotiag, Jibanok, Nejabal Yud, Squabazik Naga, Pichidok on the Anito, Uligakime Wagano, Wolastoq Whale, Wabanaki Whale, Skidino Whale, Nejabal Najibuligaki Minen, Missin Weenan, Wijoke Minen, Gigahinen, at Luseg, you'd go walk at Macwag out. What Nagenzo what Libigotidig, Zaunasnuk, Squabazig Nagilawayut, Psidok on the Anito Willie Gaki me Wagano. Pside Wolastoq whale, Wabanaki whale, Psiskijin whale. Najibuli Gaki meaning, Missin meaning, Wujuki meaning, Gigi Hinan at Lou Segud go walking Macway out. We went to come about so Waganama. Much Kazal Mopa. Weh'na Genzosog what at Libigoti did Zown Asnog. Najabal Gil one of you'd Chkobazik. I got Pidok on the Needle Pside Willie Gaki me Wagano. Pside Wabanaki Gawe. I got Pside Skijin away. Najibuli Gaki meaning, Missin meaning, Wujuki meaning, Gigi Hinan, Lusa good, go walking Macway out. Weh'na a lot of Westnog, it'll be goated, Chijit Winok, Wapsknago obeyed Malsam, Gilwani do Chkobazik, Pichidok on the Anito Willie Gaki me Wagano, to the Wabanaki Gale, to the Skijin whale. Najibuli Gaki meaning, Missin meaning, Wujuki meaning, Gigi Hinan, at Lusa good go walking Macway out. Niggas was skik to make William Chuk Mouse Wagon. Come on, Gazal Mopa. What a spunkig, what a living gold did. No must be the bow said, the most must be Westpadel said. The must see the has he like Passamaquoddy. Nagami taxi was a gisk, Majbal you'd. Pijak on the Anito Oligaki me Wagno, what's pumpkin attic. Because they see the Wabanaki, the Skijin whale. Najibuli Gaki meaning, Missin meaning, Wujuki meaning, Gigi Hinan, at Lusa good go walking Macway out. With then a bossy out there, see the Neil one. Lewin show, see the cup about so Waganama. Jajak wag. See the Gazal Mopa. Nidlage. Oh. I just want to translate in a short fashion what I said in our beautiful language is that I was paid gratitude to all the gifts that our great Mother Earth has given us. The forests and the mountains, the food and the medicine that grows here, all the beautiful veins that she runs through this earth, all the beautiful waterways, the rivers, the streams, the brooks, the lakes, the oceans, and all the medicines that grow on her banks, in her forest, and all through the valleys, and all the food that grows. And I wanted to thank all the animals, the four-legged, the flyers, the swimmers, the crawlers, for their lives, for they're the ones who purify the earth and the water and the air. And I thanked all of life, the rock people, the tree people. And I thanked the above world, our grandfather, sun, our grandmother moon, our brothers and sisters, the stars, in our father sky. And I asked them to bring down, send those beautiful teachings of the Wabanaki people and all indigenous people of the world, to bring them forward here and teach us, help us, guide us, and to heal us as we walk this good red road. And I called upon all the ancestors of our peoples who dwell in the east, the south, the west, and the north, all those wise ones, to send those beautiful teachings to us and to help us, to guide us, to direct us, and to heal us as we walk this good red road. and that big white wolf and that big white bear who dwell in the north to bring those exceptional healing powers to heal us. And I thanked the place we're in, this virtual center, is that I thank all of creation for your lives and for your spirits. And I had passed my love and gratitude for you all. And at the end, I said, Nidlage, 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 Nidlage. And that translates to, let that be so, and let that be the truth. Let that be so, let that be the truth. Let that be so, and let that be the truth. And I too have been grieving for many losses in our communities here, and missing women from our communities, and the children who have passed. This young little boy who has gone to the spirit world, this young Mi'kmaq boy who was taken in a unfortunate car crash just a couple of weeks ago. I want the ancestors to greet him and to carry him gently and to love him. And for all those little babies who were found within the past year at the grave sites, these unmarked graves in the residential school areas throughout this place that they called Canada, and the genocide that happened and that continues to happen in our myths and in our nations here. And I had a ceremony this past summer of 2021, and I cut my hair and to mourn for those lost babies. And it was the hardest thing that I had to do in a long, long time, is to cut my hair. But I offered my hair to those beautiful babies who were eventually found. And this Cree woman, Cree grandmother, was at one of those sites where they found those babies, and she heard them. She heard them. And they said, they found us. They found us. We're going to be all right. So this poor little these poor little babies who were found all these years, they finally can take their journey home. And here in the province that they call New Brunswick, just recently, there was another site of residential school. Here's the very first residential school in Canada, here in Sussex, New Brunswick. And they had covered the site with a parking lot. So we are very sure that there's babies born or babies buried in that site. We went there last year to do ceremony for those little ones. As young as 3 months old were taken from their homes. So I come with a really heavy heart Tonight, as my brother Marcus talked about the Trail of Tears, you know, we had a Trail of Tears all across Turtle Island and South and Central Americas too. And I want to conclude by sharing a song of mourning to help those young babies' spirits go on to the spirit world. Okione, 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 Okione. Hope, Letecia, Letecia.
One. So important for us to remember that we are doing this work. We're coming together here to pray for this wounded past that we all come out of, to pray for those who have come before us. And Ron was talking about all these children that have been found, and I had a dream that I was walking with my friend Mi'kmaq, and we were walking along this pathway, and as we were walking, we were going by all these communities up on the hill. And Mi'kmaq kept pointing and saying, "Oh, this is that community. And this is that community, and that community over there, this is who they are." And she was pointing out all these communities, and in the trees, in this dream, in the trees, there's these great big trees in every community, and hanging from every single branch was a child. They were hanging there like they had been hung, like they had been lynched. And when I had that dream, right when these babies were being found. And I think it's important to talk about how, even in death, these babies and And so many of our ancestors aren't even allowed to rest in death. Their grave sites are being desecrated. These babies were thrown into unmarked graves because there was no accounting for them. They took so many of our children that they didn't have room for them all. And so what they did was they killed the overflow, right? That's what they said. And there was this whole series of churches, because these are residential schools are around the churches, and whole series of churches that were being burned down, and they were blaming the indigenous peoples for that. But what happened after these places were burned down is that they would block off the whole area, not let anybody in, and then they would have bulldozers come in, and they were digging up the earth all around these places, and they were sending out truckload after truckload after truckload of dirt from the ground around where these churches burned down. And they're hauling out the evidence. They didn't want them to find any more of these kids on their site because they knew they were there. So we pray for those ones too who may not be found, to let them know that we're still here for them and holding them in our prayers. And for all of those mothers and those grandmothers who cried for those babies, never knowing what happened to them. For all of the young people who were in those schools who came to know what was going on at some level of their being, and carried that pain of that with them throughout their lives, and had survivor's guilt for what they had experienced and what they had seen there. And so when we come together and we pray together in this way, it's important for us to remember that what we're trying to heal and what we're working to recover from is no small thing. And that the pain of that runs deep. It runs deep. And we had this gathering a while back where me and some other people that I had the privilege of working with had a gathering, a healing for activists of color who were working on the front lines. And there was one young woman that was in that who couldn't stop crying all day, and she was kind of embarrassed of her tears, and she wanted to leave. And I said, no, just stay here and just be here. And we did a ceremony for connecting with our ancestors at the end of the day. And we had 50 people from all over the country who were there that we brought in, who were doing really, really hard work. We wanted to offer them an opportunity to be in retreat with one another and to have some healing work together. And she couldn't speak until all of those 50 people had spoken. And what she said was that she had seen one of her ancestors, and that what they told her, she was a young Black woman, what they told her was that never to be ashamed of her tears, because she was crying for all those who couldn't cry for themselves, all those whose bodies were beaten and abused, all those whose babies were taken, all of the children who never had the opportunity to have a voice, and that she was crying for all of them. And so when we cry, when we have these tears that come during these healing ceremonies, we're crying for all those who couldn't cry for themselves. We're healing for all those who never had the opportunity to take a breath, to grieve for their own. And so as we move into this new direction of healing for this ceremony, let us never be ashamed of our tears, because when we hide our tears, we hide our humanity. And when we hide our humanity, we forget who we are. We lose our heart. And it's very important for us right now to hold on to our humanity and to stay connected to our heart, to stay connected to our empathy and our compassion for one another. and to be gentle with one another, to hold each other gently as we're moving through these difficult times, and remembering the difficulties that our ancestors went through, and recognizing that some of the things that we're complaining about right now are pretty mild inconveniences compared to what our ancestors faced. And hopefully that will make us stronger to remember them. So thank you for those beautiful words. Next, I'm going to go to Niskipisuwin. Niskipisuwin.
Kwekwe. Ndlewas Niskipisuwin. Wabikuko kazuak dona bamok. Nujial medak mikuk. Naga nodavex medak mikuk. Ejibalida hasli baskermukat naga niziniwas kwanil. Good evening, everyone. My name is Niskipisuwin. My name comes from two different words in Skijinawawawagan in the Passamaquoddy Maliseet language. The root of my name is Bizuwin, and Bizuwin comes from the word Bizun, which means medicine, and then also the ending win, which denotes a being. So Bizuwin, if you were to literally translate it like a medicine being, or a powerful being, and that word is usually reserved for particularly powerful non-human spirits that we would encounter in our ceremonies, and in our sacred sites. These spirits were sisters. They were so Bizuwin, this powerful spirit, this medicine being, is part of my name. And then the other part of my name, Nizikab, comes from the word Nizikab. So the prefix Nizikab means two of them are standing next to each other, two of them are standing together. But when you take Nizikab and make it Nizkab, and shorten the meaning, shorten the word Niz, to explain it in English, I guess, would be two beings that aren't separate from each other, are standing together. So Nizikab, two beings that are separate are standing together. Nizkab, two beings are standing together as one being. So Niskipisuwin, two medicine beings standing together as one, or two spirit person stands with medicine power. And we introduce ourselves that way so that when we are in ceremony with our relatives, both in this world and in the next, our relatives are able to identify who we are. They can listen to who we are. We say who our relatives are. We're saying to our ancestors and to your ancestors who it is that we are. And I got my name at an interesting time in my life because it, typically when you get your name, it's more of a coming of age ceremony. You would get this name as you were transitioning into adulthood. But, having transitioned into adulthood and having younger generations of Passamaquoddy children get their names when I wasn't here, for a long time, I really felt that I had missed out. And for a long time, not being able to find my way to ceremonies, not having a family that, consistently and regularly went to traditional ceremonies, was something that I always felt that I was missing out on. So I found that for myself as an adult and made that as a priority in my life to go to these ceremonies, and not just go to ceremonies that were available to me, but be able to, or ceremonies that I might hear about, but actually seek out and find our medicine society, the people within our medicine societies, the people that have those teachings. And I think that a big reason that, I experienced things the way that I did was to teach me like how important these things would really be to me, and how important it was really going to be for me to continue on this path, and how many times I really would be tested to see if this was a path that I needed to be on and needed to continue on. And so I didn't get my name until after I had come out as transgender, as non-binary, and after I had, I guess for lack of better terminology, been given or been have been designated a two-spirit within our traditional ceremonies. And I think that the reason I got my name after that was because, I had to really step into myself fully, or start to, because you step into yourself and your role after you get your name. But I needed to go through a lot of things. I needed to experience a lot of things before I was even ready to receive my name, before I was ready to really to carry it. Because I remember picking up my sisters from their own naming ceremony, and just feeling like I really wish I'd had that opportunity to go through that, to go through a naming ceremony, to have that. And I really wonder what my name would be. And all of a sudden I got this image in my mind, like this image of these two swirling energies kind of moving together as one. And I really thought, I was like, well, obviously that has something to do with two-spirit. And in retrospect, and in further ceremony participation and more prayers, I realized that the spirits were showing me that I could hear them, that I've been able to hear them this whole time, that they told me my own name, and it was my own doubts and my own ego and judgment that kind of got in the way and kept me from understanding that message fully and accepting that message fully. But I think it really helped erase a lot of doubt further down the line, because as I found my way down, the Mekwei goat, I got those confirmations. Like, it was like getting messages from elders that were repeating messages that I got from spirits, that were then being repeated again from those spirits. And I found my way to ceremony. I found my way to the Medeoan Lodge. I received my name. I received my colors and my direction. And I finally got comfortable praying in the language, and finally started to feel comfortable with what it was, my ceremonial role was, and what, and feeling comfortable even going down that path, even if I didn't know what it was. And then the pandemic happened. And just before the pandemic happened, one of our elders, the elder who really kind of taught me to sing our songs, had passed away. And after the start of the pandemic, my grandmother passed away. After my grandmother passed away, the Bear Clan mother passed away. And then Wayne Newell passed away. And it seems like as I have been stepping more and more into myself, into my name, into claiming my role and my identity. You know, the farther I look back on that path, the more I can see these traditional elders that have guided me here, leaving one by one. One right after the other, one right in a row. So many of these elders that I felt were so crucial and shaping who I am: Deanna Francis, David Moses Bridges, Fred Toma, my grandmother, Blanche Layson, Joanne, Wayne. Just one after the other, our paths separated. And their journey continued to a place that I wasn't able to follow yet. And each time one of those elders passed, I just had this feeling like I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for you to go. I still had so much more to learn. All of us still had so much more to learn from you. And for a long time, I felt like, why down this path? Why did I look for these teachings? Why did I find these teachings? If I was going to be transitioning into this world where I wasn't allowed to put them into practice anymore, I wasn't allowed to share them with our elders for our own safety. I wasn't allowed to go to ceremony anymore because we've been on lockdown. And now I'm sitting here with my pipe and my phone, hoping that it's even going to feel remotely the same. Why did I find my way to the Medellin Lodge if I was just going to be separated from it from 2 years? And I think that the reason I experienced all of those things in that order is that they're I feel like in a lot of ways I was being given the things that I needed to know how important it was to keep going. I was being given that knowledge. I was being given all these things right before I wouldn't have access to them anymore. Right before so many of these elders continued on their way. And so I think that a lot of us are feeling that. A lot of us are feeling disconnected from these ceremonies, disconnected from these teachings, disconnected from being able to meet in person and pray in person. But each of us still has all of those things that we need to be able to have these ceremonies for ourselves, even if we are alone. You know, these tools, this feather, this pipe, this sage, these medicines, they're all tools that are meant to teach us how to connect, how to find our connection. Ceremony is a tool. It's a tool for healing. It's a tool for spiritual connection. It's a tool for teaching. But we have to remember that even if we don't have those physical tools, even if we don't have them, all of those all of those tools, all of these tools, how to move forward when we don't have those tools anymore. Our elders teach us how to move forward when we don't have our elders anymore. And so for anyone else, feeling like this isn't the same or just isn't quite good enough, try not to think of it as being good enough. It definitely is the same, or it definitely isn't the same. And that's okay. And I think that's what's most important. It's okay for it not to be the same as it was right now, because we still have those tools. We still have those abilities to connect. We still have those abilities to connect with each other, to light our fires at the same time, to light our pipes at the same time, to hold our feathers at the same time. And I think that, personally speaking, that's been the biggest lesson for me, is that I had to learn how to use by myself first. I had to use these tools to heal myself before I could use them to heal other people. And so I've been thinking of this pandemic experience, my Saturn return, my coming into my adulthood, or whatever you want to call this phase of our life, and this phase of humanity that we're all experiencing right now, has been very cocoon-like, very chrysalis-like. I've been locked inside. I've been shifting, changing, transmuting, transforming, dissolving myself entirely into a puddle of goo, and putting all of the pieces back together again, and realizing what's most important and what isn't. So for any of you, feeling lost, feeling disconnected, asking that question, why? Just know that it's okay to feel that way. You're not the only one. Masuk nagamusam suk. Kecilan jolar bewagan kecilan rakyat cunilan. Keciniwas naga kecimendu. Kecilan coba mau swapan. Naga pesidet me the wagan. Kecilan nuk masni bauset naga musam sesperauset. Kecilan skit komik naga zamagwan. Deep nagapedabig. Wanoga masizok nagakugajok. Lampekwen wog nagabadamkan. Kikok weasisok amuezwok. Suswok. Kchivaliwan. 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 Kchivaliwan jabamauswak. Kchivaliwan joknabizam. Kchivaliwan jogino at dognak. Kchivaliwan jopsidet me the walknak. Way ah hey ah hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya hey. Shanishkamiden tremindo. Gachi miniat in yoa. Neche kwan kaminiadu deya. Weh'ya hey hey ya hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya hey. Kchi wali one kchi mindo. Tilpa mausuaga. Nagapsidek milu agnogweya. Weh'ya hey ya hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya hey. Chanishkamiden shemindo. Gachi miniat in yoa. Neche kwan gaminiadu deya. Weh'ya hey ya hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya hey. Kchi wali one kchi mindo. Tilpa suaga. Nagapsidek milu agnogweya. Weh'ya hey ya hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya hey hey. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya. Weh'ya hey ya hey. Tao and Dempsey.
We won Niskipisuwin. We're going to move on now to our brother from the Mohawk tribe, Kevin Deere. Kevin?
Yeah, John. Hondo Senora Tkadaso. Koneka Gero Zenitsu Wadahung Sadadu.
Winizarade, Toske Yori Hawaksta, Yori Waksta Gi Jinio Goya Tawa. Nekti Tinuni Yokonagare, Ona Zayak Sarajinahe, Naam Dari Wahtandi, no the Idawana Dunkwane, Gayeri Niuriwage Oriwage. Ona Dawana Dunkane Tinistan Huza, Gwe, the Hodi Yogot Gawa Haje. Seniti Jutaso Jimzade, Junior, one is Rade, Konek Kariwanota, Ne Jutku, Jinu Gogwenu, Ne Umdari Wahtandi, Agwegune Garana, Ganunya, Neji Agwegu Jinohodi Yun Heje, Agwegu Ronadun Sadadu, Tanagigo de Hudigun Sadaje Nioni, Ne Ruskanex, no Umnagre, Ne Gohnone Zimzade, Ahadiena, no Hoten Skana, no Hotu Yuskats, Zinizi Rodi Wizu, Zi Judaso Zimzade. Ngadiwai Wagare, Kugadi Nyore, Dokara Niwanage, Andagatkawe, Zini Yogawanodo, Ne Rudunushuni, Togadina Nayotane, Nuwa Nigura. Just want to acknowledge each and every one of us that are on this Zoom at this particular time. As I listen to some of the words and the discussion that is going on, yeah, it is heavy for sure of everything that we've experienced. Well, last week in our community in Ganawage, those of us that are the people of the Longhouse, and all of the other Longhouses throughout our Confederacy House, from Mohawks, Oneidas, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and Tuscarora, we are still lucky that our people were able to maintain our language, our sacred songs, our dances, our speeches, and our rituals for the continuance of life. And due to COVID and Delta variant and Omicron and whatever else is out there, usually our ceremonies go for 7 days. But in order to not be the cause of putting any people at risk, we said that we would still put our ceremonies through, but it would be limited to the leadership at this particular time. So all of those sacred dances, songs, speeches, and rituals for the continuance of life were performed. Because for us, midwinter is not to say that there is any ceremony that is better than the others, because they're all important. But when you look at the way the universe works, we have the shortest day, which some people refer to as the winter solstice, then December 21st or thereabouts. And what is going to start to happen is the earth is going to shift and everything is going to begin anew. And as things are going to begin anew, that's when we start. And it's done in conjunction with our grandmother moon. It's done in conjunction with what we call Onagwadara. And in this foreign language I'm speaking, we'll say Pleiades. Well, everything has its roles, duties, and responsibilities. And these sacred songs and dances we do to humble ourselves and to beseech ourselves through the elements of the universe, that they will still continue on, and that everything will perform its roles, duties, and responsibilities. that we're gonna open up the forest, that the sap will run. We're gonna honor our ancestors. And then we'll get to seed time and planting time and all of that. All of those ceremonies, so that come fall, again, through that growing season, the plant nation, the corn, the beans, the squash, the strawberry, all of those plants that feed us, not only us, but the animals, that everything will have done its work, duty, and responsibility. And then we can continue through another year because our bellies will be full. When our stomachs are full, we have the energy to work, to build, to clothe ourselves, and to continue on with these sacred dances, songs, rituals, and speeches. When we look at what happened this past year, so it started with 215 children who I say spirits have resurrected up from the dead. Because here's what I believe happened to us. That from the old country, that when they got here, there was many things that they planted on this land specifically so that we would become blinded, so that we wouldn't hear, so that we wouldn't speak, and so that we wouldn't be able to do what we are gifted to do. When we decided to leave that, what we say in my language, Izina Karunyadi, which essentially means the other side of the blue. And then we became that spirit that is housed in this walking clay that gives now my spirit the ability to express itself. So we're here for a time, and then we're going to go back into the earth and we return to clay. But this thing that happened that caused all of this, we know is predicated on lies, on manipulation, on fear and power and control. But here's what's happening. These 215 plus, I don't know what the exact amount is now. Some people say it's over 4,000. But those children's spirits have resurrected up from the dead. And thus, those spirits have resurrected up from the dead. Well, for some people, you know, it's a scary thing. For some people, it's an awakening. For some people, it's like, wow, this is what we've been waiting for. Because as that veil or that curse is being lifted, now we are coming to our true essence of understanding who we are. And all of us, our foundations now is being shooken. It's being shooken by our Earth Mother with the way now she is starting to show her wrath through more hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, fires, floods, and even this COVID. Because the two-leggeds are walking around with this superiority that they think that they're above everything else. And this attitude, when it got to this land, is almost 400 or 500 years old now. And now what nature is doing is she's saying that imbalance is going to be put back in harmony. And it may take our Earth Mother another 4.5 billion years to return everything back to pristine. But she's got all the time in the world. We don't. We're lucky if we come here for 100 years at best. And some of us will fall anywhere in between. From some babies that don't even make 1 year to others that even have, because there's some people in Ganawage that I know. We just had one elder that died last summer. I think she was close to 107 years old. But anyways, the point being that the imbalance that exists in this world is going to be righted. And when our Earth Mother, even though she continues to give us pure unconditional love every day, with everything that is part of that cosmic intelligence, that sacred energy that we are all a part of. You look down at your chest is expanding and contracting. If you could look inside of your chest, you'll see your heart. Your heart is expanding and contracting. The snow came and the snow is going to go. The snow is going to come and the snow is going to go. Grandma Moon rises the ocean tides, lowers it. Rises the tides, lowers it. Step at the edge of any lake and watch the water. The water laps up against the shore, up and back, up and back, up and back. Even the sacred act of conception, that sacred dance is there. So when we understand that, we know that we're here for a time. We're not going to live forever and we're going back home. When we look in my creation story, we call that son our elder brother. Because like an elder brother, he teaches us, he helps us, he shows the way. He maintains a relationship with the Earth Mother and Grandma Moon. And then every now and then they get together. And then there are times when even the stars and the planets, they all line up. So we come out of the earth, we reach a midway point, and we're all going to set one day. That's a natural law. And in our teachings, we're not supposed to ever fear that. When I'm asked to bury our people, or to go to the funeral parlor and dress them up, or to run those ceremonies to appease their spirit and send them off back home into the ancestral realm, we don't have this idea of fearing God. Because in our creation story, we come from love and we're returning back to love. And the only reason why we come to this lower physical world is that we acknowledge all of those gifts that we receive each day. And it starts out by opening two gifts, which is our eyes. From there, then we acknowledge this walking clay that gives us the ability to love and enjoy this life. From there, then how did I get here? So then we acknowledge our parents and all of those loved ones that come into our world every day. And then we're all supported by what? The Earth Mother, because we're at her bosom. And from her bosom comes all of that nourishment in water, in fish, in plants, in corn, beans, squash, in trees, and animals, deer, moose, caribou, and birds, and then it goes up into the upper world. But our mother is a woman and she has feelings. And I know that because of the vision quest and fasting that I've done. And maybe I'll talk more in depth when I'm gonna have my opportunity. I think it's tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. But the Earth Mother truly is a woman that has feelings and that is alive. But she also has a temperament. And we're seeing that now. And when our Earth Mother decides to discipline us, she has no mercy, none. So here's what I say. We are at the time now where all of us, as these two-leggeds, as these human beings, because when we deal with grief, we all suffer the same way. Our eyes tear up. We don't really hear. There's a lump in our throat. There's a knot in our stomach. And we try to make sense out of the loss. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be the loss of our innocence, of stuff, of abuses, of stuff that we've gone through. Our spirits have been wounded. But we also have been given ceremonies about how to rise up from that. And for us, there's one that talks about how we will wipe our tears. And that we say that even if it's just for one day, that hopefully you will see the brightness of that sun. And that sun will go to your inner sacred fire and pull those sparks together. And those sparks will get bright again, and that smile will come back to your face, and you'll be able to enjoy this life. The other thing that we talk about is we say that when you suffer from these things that you don't really hear. So now we take an eagle feather and we say we open that up. And that maybe you'll hear the laughter of the children. Maybe you'll hear the murmur of a stream. Maybe you'll hear the ruffling of the leaves. Maybe you'll hear the birds singing early in the morning or at the end of the day. But whatever those sounds are, that those sounds again will cause you to bring your sacred fire together, and that you will hear, even if it's only for one day. The next thing that we talk about is that tightness in the throat. So now we say that we know that the healing power of water, and that water is life. And we say that we will use our imagination and we'll get the most crystal clear water that has not ever been contaminated in any way, shape, or form. And then that water, that as we drink it, that it'll release that tension, that it'll relax the tightness in our stomach. It'll go to every cell in our body. And when the body needs to eliminate itself, it'll eliminate some of that, so that that food will taste good, so that our stomach will be relaxed. And then that smile will come back to our face, even if it's only for one day. So these are the things that we say, because in spite of it all, that sun is still shining. The birds are still coming around. And then we know it's going to start getting warm, because today it was raining here. That's not a good sign. But we know that spring is going to come in a not too distant future, and the growing season is going to start again. But as we're looking around, as we're hearing, as we're speaking, what I say is that that's what we all have to start to do, all of humanity. All of us together better start seeing different. All of us together better start hearing different. All of us together better start speaking different. And all of us together better start working and doing different. There are some scientists in 1990 that got together and they said that, you know what? We study rock formations, geology. And they said, we think that we are heading into the next 6th mass extinction. And for me, if that's what is going to happen because Mother Earth has to right this imbalance, so be it. Humans, as far as I'm concerned, have overstayed their welcome. Extracting fuel, destroying the forest, contaminating the waters, all of this stuff. There was a saying that I heard, and I don't know where it came from, and it goes like this. It says, contaminate the bed that you sleep in, and one day you will die in your own filth. And if you look at the way we live, driving cars, creating garbage, and then we think that we throw it away. Well, where's away? There's no such thing as that. All of those things are accumulating and they're coming back. So we have limited time. We are at such a crucial time in history now that we have no more time for arguments, for division, or whatever. We as a human family better put our best thinking forward, bring our indigenous wisdom, bring all of these so-called knowledge keepers from every nation around the world, and we better ask ourselves, what is it that we have to do so that these future generations that are coming, when they will be born, that they will inherit a happy, safe, clean, peaceful, beautiful, loving, safe home? Because this young girl, Greta Thunberg, says that, you know what, you adults, your house is on fire and you're still acting like it's business as usual. But she says, I study, I went to school, and I'm boycotting school every Friday. I'm not going to school because the data, the research is telling me that we are going to hit a wall in the very near future if we don't start to rethink our communion with the mother and the natural world, because those are our life supporters. They are our life sustainers, and we're destroying it. And if we continue destroying it, we ain't gonna be around very much longer. So in the final analysis, and the final thing that I'll say is that we better start seeing different, hearing different, speaking different, and doing different. Thank you very much.
Julie, one need up. I want to, before we go to Letecia, I want to just apologize to my relatives and to my ancestors. And I just want to introduce myself properly. Mandali wisi wanahamu Kwasset na jiobana Muskogee. And Wabanaki no Muskogee nagakakagus nilti bike. My name in my language is Weh'na Kwasset, and my family is Bear Clan from the Penobscot Nation and Crow Clan from the Passamaquoddy tribe of Bike. And I want to recognize my ancestors who gave me this incredible gift of life. So now we're going to go to Letecia. Hello,
Sherri.
Letecia. Yeah.
Hi, listen, I see that Beverly Littlethunder has joined us. I wonder if we could have her go before me. I would like to let her speak before me,
Okay.
if that would be
Is
okay.
that okay with you, Bev?
Well, since Letecia has put me on the spot and I spent the last 45 minutes trying to get on this webinar.
If you want,
I thought we'd give you a minute to get settled in.
Yes, Letecia, if you'd give me a few minutes to just
I
kind of get
will.
my bearings and get centered, I would much appreciate it.
Okay,
me.
absolutely. Then thank you so much, Beverly, and I'm so glad that you could make it. And Sherri, thank you for having me. John, Kevin, Marcus, Ron, and I'm so sorry. I know I would torture your name. I'm just so grateful to be in this circle of sacred people honoring the gate of the South Gate. And I really appreciate being included. My ancestors are from the Philippines. My father comes from an island called Pinay, a town outside of Iloilo. He speaks the language of Ilongo, so we're part of the Ilongo people. My mother is from Leyte, from the town of Tacloban, and her people are called Warai. So I came to this continent. Well, actually, I was born here. My parents came during the colonial moments when the Philippines was underneath the American flag for a short period of time. There's a tremendous amount of colonial pain that we need to release into to be able to get to the other side. There have been so many wise words spoken about where we are in this moment. And I would just briefly like to share a very shortened version of a creation story that is from the Visayan Islands, which is the group of my parents' island. And this is how the story of how our islands became peopled. And the story is named Maganda and Malakas. Maganda is beauty and Malakas is strength. And we have creator beings as well. So we have a creator being that's a large bird, very large bird. And in the Philippines, we have one of the largest eagles in the world that has like an 8-foot wingspan. But our creator bird was flying around, and we had the storm in the ocean was, out there helping the bird fly, and it was getting tired, very, very tired, and was hungry and wanted food and to eat. And he was arguing with the ocean and saying, "Where's the land? Where's the land?" And then they started to fight. And the story goes that the ocean finally got angry and started throwing up rocks like a volcano. And that's how the islands popped up. So in the Philippines, there's over 7,600 islands in the Philippines to date. They just did a new mapping. And finally, one of the islands, he could see the bird just landed and was looking around for food and found this bamboo and started pecking the bamboo. And out jumped the fully formed female and male, Makanda and Malakas. So strength and beauty is what brought forth from our islands. Our people, the males and the females, are both taught strength and beauty to bring forward in our culture in this very egalitarian way. And it's been so heartening to be able to have conversations with Sherri about reclaiming her language in the way that we are reclaiming our language that goes back to the maternal roots of the language itself. And I'm just so pleased to be here. In the Philippines, we were colonized by the Spanish, so they converted much of the islands to Christianity. So I was raised Catholic here in the United States, but my mother is very pagan. So we always grew our own food, and our relatives in the Philippines each have their own farms. We have family farms on my father's side and my mother's side where they're still tilling the land to this day. And I'm here to offer my solidarity and my heart and compassion to the healing that needs to take place for this very powerful time that we're in. We need to stand tall, and I've heard the words of resiliency and to not forget, to remember our ancestors, to allow ourselves to feel our feelings and help our ancestors who are no longer in the body and those who are preparing to come to know that it is safe for them now to be where they need to be in that support. So I would just like to say thank you all for being present tonight with us, wherever you are in this virtual sphere. And I would just like to ask all the elements, the ocean, we're water people. A lot of the names of our tribes are related to how our villages were next to water. And we have fresh water, and of course, we're surrounded by salt water. And when my father was alive, I remember saying to him, I feel like we're united by the waters. And when we go deep enough, we're united by the land. And that reflects all the people around the world. And in my family, on my father's side, he told us that we had relatives, blood relatives, physically in my father's Layson family on every major landmass in the world. And I have always felt like we held this world for a better future and that we came here to do that. And I hope to do that with you all this weekend. So thank you so much, and many blessings to us all. Thank you, Sherri.
Julie Juanita, thank you. Letecia, I appreciate you joining us. And the stories that we've shared over the years, we always find so many similarities in the things that we share from different traditions. And I think that the people who have remained close to the earth have so many similar stories. And I think that no matter where you come from, whatever tradition you're coming out of, that if you trace that tradition back to its earth-based connections, that we really had very similar ways of being in relationship with life. And it's been beautiful for me to be part of this group of matriarchal scholars, is how Letecia and I came to know one another, who come from all over the world, who are thinking about our origins, thinking about our motherlands, our mother tongue. What does that mother love mean to us in regard to how we engage life, how we live in relationship with one another, and thinking about all aspects of the sacred mother, who can sometimes be very fierce. And we oftentimes can lose that fierceness when it's most needed, like right now. Right now, we really need that fierce mother love. Okay, so I'm gonna now go to Beverly, if you're ready, Beverly Littlethunder.
Well, kia chichia Beverly in Michia PA. My people call me Beverly Littlethunder. Well, kia chichia means someone that loud softness. And I have been told that I was misnamed, but I will try to be very gentle tonight. I thank all my sisters and brothers for allowing me to sit in the circle with you. It's a great honor. I come to you as a Two-Spirit Lakota woman from Standing Rock. My mother was Christina Marshall, and her mother was Bessie Two Bears, and my great-grandmother was Nellie Hawk. On my grandfather's side, they came from the Shine River Agency. And I have spent most of my life trying to adhere to the traditions that I was taught when I was very young. My grandmother was not someone who was especially spiritual. She didn't go out each morning and greet the sun and burn sage and sing a song to each of the 4 directions. It was more like, get out of bed, you got to get ready for the day. But there was always something in the way that she taught us that I grew up knowing that I was here to help the earth, that I was here to take care of the animals, that the earth was not given to me to take care of me, but I was here to take care of the earth. And so as I moved through my life, I searched out in all the different traditions of my Indigenous sisters and brothers and my European sisters and brothers, the things that we held in common, not so much the things that separated us and that we disagreed on, but the things that we held in common. And one of the strongest things we held in common was love. Love for our Mother Earth and love for our future generations. And as a woman, I was always told that women are the life givers, that there's not a male on the planet that did not grow and come through a woman to this earth. And that now, in this time when so much damage has been done, we as women need to reclaim our rightful power in healing the earth. We need to step up. We can no longer sit in the background as the colonists have taught us to do. You know, when they got here, they had no regard for their own women. And so to see women in any place of decision-making was totally foreign to them. And through generations, so many of our men have bought into that, as so many of our people have bought into the punitive ways of Christianity. And when I say that, I don't mean that Christianity in and of itself is a bad thing, but the religions that have formed using Christianity as their weapon have become oppressive and destructive to our psyche, to our spirit, to our hearts, to our communities. And we are at a time when that is beginning to turn around. Women are beginning to come together. Women are beginning to recognize that whatever differences there are, they are not near as important as taking care of this earth for our future generations, for those who have no names yet, for those that people may not even have thought of yet. When we talk about 7 generations to come, we have to remember that we, as we sit here, are the 7th generation of someone who prayed for us. And so now it is our responsibility to pray and to create a space that is healthy for those that are yet to come. I give thanks to all of my ancestors who have sacrificed and who have walked before me. And my heart aches for the pain that they have had to endure. Being separated from families, being imprisoned in boarding schools, having language, culture, families destroyed. But it's not too late. It's not too late to reach back and to grab those things. I talked to someone a couple of months ago when I was in South Dakota, and we talked about language. And there was someone in the room who said, oh, well, that person doesn't speak the language properly. They don't know how to speak properly. And I had to stop for a second and look at them, because 100 years ago, the language was totally different than it is today. We have words in our language today that didn't exist 100 years ago. Cell phones didn't exist 100 years ago. Cars didn't exist 100 years ago. Coffee may have existed 100 years ago, and we have a word for that. 200 years ago, I'm sure it didn't. So we should not be criticizing one another. We should be lifting each other up, because each of us is trying our very best. Each of us is doing our very, very best to do what we have been led to do. And each of us have been given a different task on this planet. Otherwise, we would not be sitting here right now. There's a reason why we've come together. There are no coincidences. There is nothing that happens by chance. And as we come together and we prepare to go to the south and to pull the energies from the south into the center, I think about a dream I had so many years ago, maybe when I was in my 30s. And it was a medicine wheel that was comprised four circles each of different color. And they all kind of were right next to each other. And in the center was this little space. Like when you put 4 circles together, there's going to be a little space. And the woman who was standing next to me said, "That's the coming together place." And then I noticed that all of these circles were broken. And she said, "We are in the time when each circle needs to be healed. Each circle needs to complete itself. And then we need to come together in that coming together place, because we're going to be needed there." And at the time, I thought nothing of it. At the time, I thought that was really a strange dream. And as I've gotten older, I realized that we are in that time. We are in that time when each circle, each color of people on this planet needs to heal itself so that we can come together, so that we can form that strong core. There are many, many human beings on this planet who are not going to survive, who are not going to be here because of the destruction that's been wrought on this land. There are so many animals, 4-leggeds, creepy crawlies, fish, plant spirits that will not survive because of the destruction that we as human beings have created. But there will be those who do survive. And those that survive are going to carry this knowledge, and they're going to create the planet that our children are going to live on, that our great-grandchildren and our great-great-great-grandchildren are going to be on. And so, as I come here and sit amongst you and listen to the wisdom that each of you share, I give great thanks to be in this place, to be here in this moment in time, and to be able to offer prayers that our ancestors would continue to guide our steps, that they would continue to walk with us, and that we would be able to continue to listen to them, that we would hear their voices over our own ego voices. It's very hard to discern between ego and spirit speaking. But the only time I ever get in trouble, I always say, is when I listen to my ego. Because when I'm listening to my ego, it's to benefit me. When I'm listening to spirit, it's to benefit the whole. And the whole is far more important than just this one little old lady who sits on this planet. And so I give thanks tonight. I give thanks tonight that we have this technology to be able to come together in this time when people are so afraid to be with each other because of this pandemic. Even though I am still beginning to understand how to use this technology, and even though sometimes I want to throw the technology out the window, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it because 3 years ago, I could not have joined you here. 3 years ago, I only knew how to plug the thing in. And that was all I knew. And if it didn't work when I plugged it in, oh well, I pick up a telephone. But technology is moving very fast. And I don't want to get lost in just the technology. I want us to remember that each one of us is a precious human being that we were put here for a multitude of reasons. And some of us have struggled all our lives to get to the place that we're at now. And we probably, no doubt, will have struggles in the future. But for me, those struggles seem a lot easier to move through because I know that I have a community that is far out of my sight, that is there, and that we are all walking in a similar direction. Pilamia, Pilamia Kola. I thank you, my friends. Lakwayase.
Chiwiliwan, Beverly, thank you so much for your words. I'm going to turn the hosting over to John Bear for a minute so that I can share some things with you. There are so many beautiful messages that we've received tonight. I'm so thankful for everyone sharing their words with us. And I want to talk about words a little bit. I want to talk about the importance of our oral traditions. And so there's, if you were to look up, why did Indigenous people maintain oral traditions? A lot of anthropologists will tell you because they lack the ability to write, which is completely untrue. We had the capacity to write. We just understood that there was power in our words. We understood that vibration and frequency created form. Our people understood the power that we had to be able to create the reality that we were living in by speaking it into being. And so in order to live in good relationship with the rest of life, we maintained our oral tradition so that we could really be mindful of the words that we were using. And so as we're moving through these very challenging times, I've where people have been finding all kinds of interesting ways to entertain themselves. I've been oftentimes distressed to see some of the words that people are choosing to give life to, some of the ideas that they're choosing to bring into form, and how carelessly some people are choosing to be with their language. And we recently had a conversation about this with a group that I'm connected to, where we talked about this. And I've been writing a lot about oral tradition as well, because it's I think it's the foundation for our way of life. And so when we think about our way of life, what I've learned is that there are some things within our way of life that I could never express in English. And it wasn't until I was able to, ask one of my teachers, language teachers, like Ron is one of my language teachers, Niskipisuwin's another one of my language teachers. Ask them, how would you say this in the language? And learning how to say something in the language gives it a whole new meaning. And so, like when we're talking about being sovereign, I asked Ron one time, I said, how would you say being sovereign? And he gave me a couple of words, and he's like, no, it's this. And develop mosel deep, and what that means is we own ourselves, and with that owning of ourselves, we own not only our rights but our responsibilities. We have this balance that we carry in that ownership of ourselves. So sovereignty isn't just a right, it's being accountable for what we put into what we create, what we put out into life. It's being accountable for the words that we speak, for the things that we create. And so one of the things that's been a challenge for us as human beings has been to be accountable for the things that we have created. We oftentimes are remiss to take responsibility for our own actions. We're like a group of children who's been put into a room full of toys, right? Because Mother Earth is so generous with her gifts. Everything that we could possibly need is here. And so, you put a little child in a room full of toys, and I think about my little 3-year-old granddaughter, and when she comes to her ukami's house, she has a lot of toys, and she wants to play with one thing, and then she wants to play with something else a little while later, and then she wants to play with something else a little while later. And if I just let her have her way and just do whatever she wanted to do, then she would, the whole house would be full of toys. But we have a process that we go through here where she plays with one thing, and then she picks it up and she puts it away. But when you have that unchecked way of being, like we see out in the world today, where we have capitalism unchecked, what we see is this big mess that's been created that nobody wants to take responsibility for. Everybody's been waiting around for somebody to come along and to clean it up. And, people will spend months standing out and shaking their fists at their lawmakers, right? Their government. They'll march. Some people they'll even run all the way across the country, right? To try to convince somebody else to fix the problems that have been created. And I think that's the biggest wisdom in our oral tradition, is that that we have to take responsibility. We have to be accountable for the mess that human beings have created because we're human beings. Not because we did it individually, but because we're human beings, and human beings have caused a lot of harm as a species on Mother Earth. And so we've caused a lot of harm to all of our relatives in the natural world, but we've also caused a lot of harm to one another. And one of the ways that we can heal that harm is to be conscious of our words. And so one of the practices that we have in our tradition is that the new year, we send a message out to anyone that there's tension or disagreement or bad feelings with that, we may have hurt, or even somebody that's hurt us. And we say, I'm sorry that there's this hurt between us, and I want to apologize, and I want to start this new year off in a good way. And let's remember that we love one another, that we care about one another, that we're important to one another. And when we take responsibility for ourselves and for our own actions and for the things that we might have done, it changes things, right, in our trajectory. And so we're at a time when we really need to be thinking about how do we take responsibility for what has been created. I was speaking at this environmental conference one time, and there was this lady there, and I can never remember her name. And if you ever see this, the video of this, or if you're listening now, I apologize because I was moved by what you had to say, but I just can't remember what your name is. And she asked this question. She said, why are we collectively creating a world that none of us would want to live in individually? And there's a lot in that one question. And that one question is an acknowledgement that we are actually creating the reality that we're living in. There's an acknowledgement of the power that we have to create the type of life that we most want to live. And there's an acknowledgement that we are not taking that responsibility seriously, that we're being negligent with it. And so, how do we reclaim the power that we have as co-creators of life and begin creating a world that we would want to live in individually? And so the question that I want you to think about as we're heading into this weekend of ceremony and listening to the stories and the words that everybody is going to be offering to you over the next few days is to really think about how can you be accountable for what you're putting into the world? How can you be responsible for your part in this co-creation of life that we are sharing? How can you reclaim the power that you have as a co-creator of this world? And I want you to think about that in terms of your umbilical connection to Niskipisuwin, to Mother Earth, because when we enter into this universe, we enter in through the body of our mother. So our first ecosystem is our mother's body. And while we're in that ecosystem, we're being nurtured, and cared for and cultivated to be able to stand on Mother Earth in our second ecosystem. And so when we're born into this world, it's actually our second ecosystem. And when that happens, our umbilical connection is transferred from our from our birth mother to the earth mother. And so, we have to think about our life upon Mother Earth as being tethered with this umbilical connection that we have. I'm sorry, I have to assign transcribers. So when we're aware of our relationship to Mother Earth being connected with this umbilical connection, because Mother Earth is the one who sustains us and nurtures us and cares for us until the day that we leave this earth again. We are handed by our birth mother into the care of the earth mother. And so we have a responsibility to nurture and to cultivate the life that we share with Niskipisuwin, with Mother Earth. We have a responsibility to cultivate and to nurture the relationships that we have with our relatives, because we're kin-centric, right? We're relational beings. The way that our humanoid species survived when all others failed to survive was by learning to cooperate and to collaborate and to live in community with one another. And because we've moved so far away from our sense of community, we live these individualized lives. We've forgotten how to take care of one another. And the most important thing that we ever learned was how to take care of one another, how to love one another in action, right? And so, this 21-year prayer that we're all engaged in with one another is the process of us relearning how to take care of one another. It's a process of us relearning how to love one another and to walk with one another in a good way. And so, what kind of a world is it that you want to inhabit? What kind of a world do you want to create for those that you love to walk into? We need to vision what that's going to be, and we need to hold that vision together and breathe life into it until we can all walk into that as flesh and blood, so that our future generations can walk into a world where they're not only capable of surviving, but of thriving. And so while we're sitting together in prayer with one another, let's start breathing life into a vision of reality that uplifts us, sustains us, gives us the space to live our lives with a sense of dignity, that provides all with a sense of belonging and purpose, that ensures that our relatives have enough food, that they have enough water, that they, and that includes our relatives in the natural world. And so let's remember those things as we're coming together, and let's really think about that question, that why are we collectively creating a world that none of us would individually want to inhabit? And how do we collectively begin to create the world that we want to inhabit and step outside of our expectation that someone else is going to come along and fix it for us? Because we are the ones, even if it wasn't us, even if it wasn't our people, it was our species who walked away from the path of life. And it's going to be up to our species to come back towards that path of life if we want to continue. And so we have a story in our tradition about Giwok, who is the cannibal giant. And Giwok wakes up when Mother Earth is in distress, when we have begun consuming faster than she can produce and harming Mother Earth faster than she can heal. And once Giwok is awake, he dances us all into this false sense of security, and we begin to move faster and faster and faster and faster. And in that fast movement, we lose track of the things that are most important to us. We lose track of our place within creation. And the only way for us to stop Giwok from dancing us off the planet, as my brother Kevin talked about, is for us to wake up. And so how do we set that alarm to wake us up, and then do what's needed to keep ourselves awake, right? Because people think, hey, I woke up, and then that's it. But you got to stay awake. You got to stay awake, and you got to keep moving through your day, right? Because there's all kinds of people in the world, and everybody's operating at a different time of day. For some of them, it's just sunrise. They just woke up. For others, it's 11:59 p.m. They've been awake for a long time. And so how do we not only wake up, but stay awake and be conscious of what it is that we're required to do while we're awake in regard to creating a life that can sustain our future generations. And if we do end up exiting the planet because we can't get it together, how do we exit the planet this time? Because we know, we've been told that this is our fourth time here. So if we do end up exiting the planet again, how do we want to walk out? I want to walk out doing the very best that I can. I want to walk out knowing that I did everything possible to make the world a better place for those who are going to follow after me. I want to walk out knowing that when I heard somebody saying something that was hurtful, I disrupted that narrative. I want to walk out knowing that if somebody was attacking somebody that I love, then I would stand in between them and the one that they were attacking. I want to know that I did the best I could, and I think we all feel that way. We all want to do the very best that we can, and we are doing that. So let's come together and join our efforts and be conscious of what we're creating, because we're creating whether we are conscious of it or not. And so how do we become conscious of what we're creating and begin actively co-creating together a reality that is in alignment with all of the things that we have been taught, all of the teachings that every single person that you're going to hear from over the next 2 days carries with them. There's a lot of wisdom that's going to be shared with you over the next 2 days by wisdom keepers from all over the world, from all different traditions. And we are honored to be able to be a part of the circle together to share these teachings, because this is what the world needs right now. The world needs to see men like my brother Ron, who are crying for these children. The world needs to see people who are willing to say, you know what, as a species, we might not make it, and maybe we don't deserve to. We need people who remind us that our creation stories, no matter how far they may be separated by geographical distance, are very similar in their heart. And so, you know, as we're being reminded of all of these things and all of these teachings over the next 2 days, send each other some love. Send each other some love, and remember that if we can just hold that in our hearts, while we're listening to one another, and then carry those messages forward. One of the things that I think is most beautiful about Healing Turtle Island, even though we haven't been able to gather in person for the last couple of years, is hearing the stories that people share of how they've taken the lessons from that, and they've breathed life into the vision that those things have given to them, the words that were shared with them. They've held on to those words and those teachings, and they've breathed life into them. And they've actually manifested and created them in their own territories. And they've started to, build their systems and their structures around those teachings. And so we don't have to dismantle anything. We just have to take our energy out of what no longer feeds life. And we have to move ourselves back into alignment with the path of life, back into alignment with the energy of life and the heart of life. And if we do that, then we can move with creation, and not with the path of destruction, but with the path of creation, and create something that's new, and that's something that we haven't seen in this iteration of life, because it will be done collectively by all of us. And we haven't done that yet. And I'm excited that the possibility that we might be able to do that together. So I'm just gonna say that much for now, and we're looking forward to sharing the next 2 days with you. And I'm now gonna turn it back over to my brother Ron Tremblay to offer us a closing prayer for the day.
Duwaliwin, the legal naman yod wapap, kizimili did wigwisid Wolastoq away nokmasig. Good we well as a welcome wa Marcus kizi splatag nid jitpa skud what Zaunesnuk. I just wanted to acknowledge the wampum that I'm holding here that was gifted to me by the Wolastoq grandmothers when they installed me as the traditional grand chief. And I want to thank them for guiding me, for directing me, and for influencing me in what I need to say and how I need to present myself as a traditional grand chief. I want to acknowledge my teachers, and they both have passed on to the spirit world. Sagate, Gwen Bear, who had taken me out to fast for 4 years, and who had taught me the way of our people and through a traditional way of fasting. And also with Scud, the late great Harry Laporte, who had taught me about the lodge, the sweat lodge, and how to hold myself as a man, and to be respectful to women, and to be respectful to my mother, my aunties, my partner, my daughter or daughters, and I don't have no granddaughters, or I just have 10 grandsons. So I just want to acknowledge the fire, the sacred fire that's been lit in the south by Marcus. And we want to acknowledge that and send our thoughts and prayers in that direction. And that hopefully one day we can go down and sit in council with him and with his nation. And I want to thank all the speakers for their powerful words of wisdom and knowledge And I'm looking forward to the next couple days and listening to more people, more of the knowledge keepers and the elders speaking. And I want to end the evening's session with a song that was taught to me by Maggie Paul. It's a song to help people heal either spiritually, emotionally, mentally, or physically. And how this song was described to me is that if we were together, that the one who would be presenting this song or to put forward some thoughts of to help people heal, is that person would be in the center and they'd be singing this song, and the group would be dancing in a circle, and then they'd be in an exchange of tobacco to help the people heal. So, so I will conclude this evening session with this song of power of healing. Oh,
Do you, Willie, one, Nita? So thank you, everyone, for joining us for this opening. We will start again in the morning at 9 a.m. And I would encourage all of you to take some time tonight to go out and to offer some tobacco to Mother Earth, offer some prayers, take your water and sing to your water, and then take that water into your body and offer some to Mother Earth, and join us in this prayer by connecting yourself to the earth that we're all standing upon, Mother Earth, together, no matter where we are in the world. And we're gonna hear from some people who are very, very far away from us, but who are very close to us in heart. So everyone have a good night, and we will see you all again first thing in the morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Good night.